So each week we like to have... It's not a weekly podcast, you dick.
Taxi for Wayne.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Wrong Kind of Music podcast. We've got 4 of us today. Normally we've only got 3. This is kind of what it was meant to be from the start, but it's not always easy getting people involved. So going from my right to left, we've got Lauren, who runs Massacre and Blood blog. Yep, local blogger. We've got our regular Liam Keith, local photographer, and we've also got Sean. Sean is in a local funk punk band, which is called
Pandora L's.
Pandora L's, yes. One thing I'd also like to mention is this week we have got a load of beers thrown at us from Heaney Farmhouse Brewery. Very kindly donated a few beers for us to drink. Check them out. We all had a few sips and checked them out before we started rolling, and we all agree they are some damn fine beers. So yeah, source yourself some Heaney Farmhouse Brewery beers. There'll be a link in the description, and you can look up where you can get those beers. So just 2 nights ago, we had Heat 2 of Metal to the Masses Belfast. We had a great competition featuring Corvid, So Much for the Sun, Oracle and Death of the Salesman. But the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Cursed Sun had to drop out. Chris, the drummer, had a back injury. So we hope you're feeling well, Chris. What do you reckon, Cursed Sun dropping out? How does it impact the overall competition, do you reckon?
It depends. Now, I know there's wheels in motion trying to get them into another heat. Needs to require sort of people sort of swapping over and helping them out. If they can, brilliant, because the competition's definitely weaker without them in it.
I think it was very commendable of So Much for the Sun taken into that slot. Some people would have said that it's a strategically dangerous thing to do, going up against bands like Oracle and Death of a Salesman. But they did, so fair play to those guys.
Yeah, well done.
So hopefully Cursed Sun gets sorted, because as far as I'm concerned, I've said this before, they're a great band and I can see them doing pretty well in this competition. So yeah, hope it gets sorted. But on to talking about Heat 3, and we'll make a start. The first band on stage that night were Corvid. Lauren, you can take a lead on this one. What do you think of Corvid's performance?
Corvid, well, I mean, I'm a fan of Corvid, always have been, since I started going to gigs. I thought the performance was pretty good, to be honest. I might be a bit biased because it's more of my thing, but I thought maybe, you know, there's some things I would tweak about the performance, you know, maybe sort of, I don't know, like there's some bands sort of don't really act like they're competing in a competition. You know, they just sort of go and play a gig and have a bit of crack. I kind of thought they maybe did that, but you know, overall I thought they performed quite well, considering.
Liam, Corvid?
Not the biggest fan after listening to the music they've got online, but live they were definitely better than I was expecting. The one gripe I would have was the fact that the singer spent the whole time in the crowd with his back to the crowd. And you know, we've said it before, you're being judged on so many different facets of how you perform. You know, it's how this is going to go down in front of a bloodstock crowd, and you know that would have counted against them. You know, it kind of, you don't have a focal point on stage, even like from a photography point of view. It's, you know, it's quite annoying. But just as a punter's point of view, you're looking at the stage and there's, you know, the singer's not there. You know, he's in the crowd. It's dark. He's, you know, I think that was a mistake.
Sean, what did you make of Corvid?
I actually enjoyed them because they're not really my thing, but I loved how much fun they were having. Like the drummer is just buzzing. He was like, getting into it and stuff we got there, and I was like, that's my kind of guy. Like, he's so cool. So I kind of enjoyed their performance.
So I thought their material live came across way better than it does recorded. I thought they put on a mostly good show. I thought when they were heavy, they were fucking heavy. When those vocals came in, I love the style of vocals that those guys produce. There was a couple of wee things that I thought were off. There was a bit where, I mean, they've 2 guitar players, a bass player, drummer, vocalist. There was a bit where it was just one guitar player and the drummer playing, and it actually happened a couple of times. and it just sounded so hollow and empty.
I noticed that.
And I thought that needs filled, and you've no reason not to fill it because you've got all those other musicians on stage with you. I didn't really understand that. I thought that could have had a bit more oomph, but when it got heavy, I thought those riffs were really, really good. Some good headbanging riffs. As you say, the front man coming onto the floor and turning his back to the crowd, to me was just, I mean, we'll talk about the other bands, but that compared to what else we seen that night was just, it isn't good enough. No. It's not. When it comes to performing, you've got to perform to that crowd. You've got to get that crowd on board, supporting you and going, that band nailed it. That band was so good. And when you've got a guy with his back to you the whole time, you're not going to have that. You're just not. So I think there's room for improvement there, but overall I thought they were really good. One thing I will say, I know there's a lot of stuff going on about gender stereotypes at the minute, and I don't really want to get into that, but it's good to see a girl on stage, I thought, playing guitar.
Badass guitarist too, like.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. So yeah,
So good.
not a bad performance, room for improvement.
One thing I did notice as well, I think a few other people commented, the vocals probably could have been a bit louder at times. A lot of people were saying they couldn't actually hear him.
I would agree with that.
I think that was out of their control.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
nice.
Yeah.
So that maybe probably counted against them in the sort of vocal.
I would have liked a wee bit more vocal as well. Yeah, but
what can you do?
I guess that's what it is.
Work with what you can.
Next up were So Much for the Sun, which are a kind of, well, I say kind of, they're a doom band. Sean, what did you make of them?
I loved it. Like, it was just right up my street, man. Like, Doner, like, I can't even speak. Doner, like Doner Kebab. No, Stoner Doom. So I was digging it. Like, just, I love that hard hitting, just like bam, bam, bam kind of stuff. So it was awesome. Got a wee bit much, so it was a wee bit samey, and I could feel everybody else in the room kind of getting a wee bit lethargic and bored with it, and I was like, I'm loving these guys, but.
I'd agree with that. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Doom to start with, so maybe I'm not the right guy to ask, but I found it was very slow, it was very, I don't want to say tedious, but I'm going to say tedious.
Yeah.
It just didn't engage with me. There was points where it sped up a bit, and then someone else pointed out to me that sounds a wee bit mastodon-y, and I totally agree with that, it did. So I liked it when it picked up and it got a wee bit more pace, but generally overall, I wasn't a fan of it, but it's because I'm not a fan of that type of music, so I'm maybe not the right person to critique it, you know.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. When they were actually sort of, when there's a bit of pace going on, it's like I found the head going, it's like, right, yes, I can get into it, but then it got slowed back down again, and like that's not my bag at all. So just probably the same as you, not the right person to be asking.
Well,
I mean, I've seen them quite a few times actually, and I really dig them.
Yeah.
To be honest, can't say much more than that, you know. I thought the fact that they've got the two vocalists, you know, the drummer and you know, it's a bit different.
Does that?
You know,
yeah, I like that.
Yep.
I like that they're a bit groovy, you know. So it's my thing. I enjoyed it.
One wee thing I just want to mention, and it's nothing to do with any of the bands. In Voodoo, they've now got a little raised up section for the drums.
Yes.
And I think that works so well.
Yeah, that
it really helps. And
that was Leaky, one of the bar managers. He's the drummer in General Fiasco. So with their gigs, they set that up.
You would think that would give you less space on stage, but I don't know. I think it sort of organises the stage a bit better. I think it really works.
Yeah,
so,
no, I like it, especially from a photography point of view. You can actually finally sort of get at the drummer.
Definitely. So although we're sliding off topic, our thumbs up to whoever at Voodoo decided to put a razor up for the drums. Next band up was Oracle. Clearly an Oracle fan. I think the guys, like, when you play that kind of music, that sort of it's like that fast groove metal with so much energy and stuff. When you come out and play that straight off the back of a doom band, it is just so explosive. And that's what they done. They just came out and they hammered it. They done it. To me, it was the same as the way Kidos did on stage one. They just came out and they just blasted their music right in their face, and they got in your face and they played with enthusiasm, and they looked like they were enjoying themselves, and everything I want from a band, Oracle delivered. I thought they were so good. They were tight, they were energetic. Brilliant. I just thought they were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, can't argue there.
Yeah.
They just, like I said, what went before. I think the crowd for the first two bands really wasn't sort of getting into it. Like in Heat 1, even though like we all know Elder Druid didn't, give their best set, the crowd was into it from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't know, it took the first two bands to kind of maybe warm the crowd up. But Oracle they just came out and destroyed, no messing about, just got straight on.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone was going crazy. Like, I mean, personally for me, I'm not actually that well versed on Oracle. I mean, I haven't really went to the gigs that they've been sort of playing, but I have to say I was impressed.
Yeah.
Like, I would sort of be more into the heavier sort of thrashy, death metal scene and stuff, but they really did impress me. Like the drummer as well.
Yeah.
Race.
I was seriously, I was impressed with that. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sean, what do you reckon the Oracle?
Frontman, for me, like I was just like thinking about like energy you were talking about, like the start of the set, like before, like all the guitarists and bassists were like tuning up or whatever, but he was pacing like a caged animal. I was like, yes, I can't wait to see it. Like he was just there for the entire set, like just giving it stacks. Like it was so cool.
Yeah, and it's not just their front man, Jason. To me, it's the whole band. One of the things I love about a good band is a good band works as a unit.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you see a band and you go, they have a good guitarist, they have a good bass player, a great front man. Really good bands are good because they work as a unit and everyone in the band is as good as each other. The one thing I will ask, how much do you think I'll give a bit of context around this. There was a problem with the kick drum, kick pedal.
The pedal broke.
And they had to stop for a while. How much of an impact do you think that would have had on the perception of the band, and also how much votes and whatnot they would have got?
They handled it so well. Other bands would have, like there was a time during Corvid's set, there was a bit of a delay and nothing was being said. Oracle, Jason was talking to the crowd, he even got somebody to tell a joke. They were interacting, he was keeping busy. That, in the mind of the judges, that's what they're looking for. If something does go wrong, which it happens, but it's how you deal with it. And if you're just sitting there, everyone's head down, tuning up or whatever, nobody's saying anything, that'll kill you. But he handled it perfectly. He interacted with the crowd, kept talking and stuff until it was sorted.
And that's being professional.
Yeah, exactly. And that maybe with the crowd vote, I don't know how it would have worked, but I know with the judges that it didn't count against them. That was probably actually counted for them. So
the last band of the night was Death of a Salesman. Liam, you can take this one.
Yeah, they absolutely just blew me away. It was similar to Oracle in that they just came out, no messing about. Those two bands knew how to play a competition like this. They just straight up came out, blasted everybody. The energy from them was unbelievable. Like I haven't seen them in a long time, and I remember I liked them before, but I was so impressed. Just everything about them was it was just so slick, and they were so tight. You could imagine them playing that New Blood stage.
I think slick is bang on the money.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought about their performance was, although Oracle would have been my number one band of the night, there is absolutely no doubt that Death of the Salesman were the most professional and the most confident performance of the night. They just came out, there was no real gaps between songs, there was zero awkwardness. It was like a well-oiled machine that just came out and blasted it, engaged with the crowd, like
Lock horns from the previous heat.
Up in front of the monitors, getting in with the crowd and microphone into the crowd, gang vocals. To me, they absolutely nailed what you need to do to win a competition.
Yeah.
Whether you like that music or not, I don't think anyone could deny that the performance they put in was literally exceptional.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Exactly. I mean, really, it's not my thing at all. Really, people in the crowd spin kick and stuff. It's not my area at all.
No.
But I can't deny that they knew what they were doing. They had in mind what they were going to do, and they did it, and they delivered. So fair play to them. Like,
Sean, what do you reckon about Death of a Salesman?
Again, but biased because being a drummer, like I just loved like Rory's drums. Like they were just so awesome. Like just surgically perfect. Like just hitting every phrase. Like it was just so cool.
I'm actually a bit of a
consider.
tip because I know Rory, but I didn't realise it was Rory till you tagged him in a photo today.
Yeah.
I was like, it was Rory on drums.
Aye,
It's kind of
man, he's amazing. I was a wee bit disappointed. He sometimes does the old wee stick twirls and stuff and all.
right. You like about that? They
Yeah,
just,
All focus.
yeah, that's it. You know, but like he's metronomic. Like he will not miss.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were
Just
just
perfectly.
so on the button. Like
So, with all that being said, the winners of the night was, I can't remember exact figures, but it was around about Death of a Salesman with about
30 something,
30.
32.
Something.
32%. And then second, Oracle were 28%, I think.
Yeah,
something
something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah.
But it was Death of a Salesman and then Oracle. I don't think we'll even need to ask this, but I'll ask anyway. Did the right bands go through? Start with you, Lauren.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I
100%.
personally, I would have, been more in favour of Oracle. I suppose you're in the same boat, but absolutely, yeah.
Liam?
Yeah, voting was so difficult because the only thing that could separate them, and when I was sitting there, like, it was just the bass drum breakdown. That was the pedal. That was the only way I could actually pick a band to go, vote for first and second.
Yeah.
That's how tight it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 100% like Death of a Salesman and Oracle going through to me were the right bands. Anything other than that, and I think I actually would have been angry. Sean, what do you reckon? Right bands?
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like they were just next level, weren't they? They were just festival already. They were just fucking like they could do it tomorrow.
That's it.
Yeah,
Like they're that tight. Like
that's it in a nutshell. So on each episode, we'll like to have like a topic of conversation, a debate, if you will. And this week, what we'd like to talk about, in a non-disrespectful manner, is how each of us feel about rock bands entering into metal to the masses. It is, by definition, a heavy metal competition, metal to the masses. It's right there in the name. Every year we get rock bands, and before I go any further, I do want to say that it's not our competition. And we don't get to decide these rules. It's not for us to say. But we're entitled to have an opinion on these things, and that's what we're going to do. So, who wants to make a start?
I'll have a crack.
Go for it. How do you feel about rock bands entering metal to the masses?
Conflicted. For years I never went to Bloodstock because I always thought it was too heavy. Then the first time I went 2016 because I saw it's like, hold on, there's not extreme metal bands here, and going. There are some, I suppose, lighter than the really extreme stuff, but it's still heavy. You still have to have that kind of bite, and it seems like they're maybe on a hiding to nothing. Now, obviously, you're kind of stuck with the amount of bands you have in a town as well, so maybe that might have something to do with it. But I don't know. It seems like they're just doing it for a laugh, just for a gig, but. Bands, there's bound to be some bands that aren't actually taking it seriously. Yeah. And they're just doing it for, all right, let's get a gig going.
Obviously, it's just speculation because I can't get into the minds of these bands that enter. But I would often think that it's just it's an opportunity to play in front of an audience that isn't necessarily your audience. It's an opportunity for a gig to play. I mean, I've spoken to lots of people that have entered metal to the masses that have went in with no aspirations to win the thing. Yeah. But they feel. It's a gig, we'll go down and we'll play and have a bit of crack, and if we get to round two, brilliant, we get another gig,
I think we should get some possibly new fans out of it as well. There is that.
That's true.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, for me personally, like I'm going to Bloodstock this year. I'm into extreme metal. I want to go to an extreme metal festival to see that kind of music. But a couple of points you raised there, like you weren't really interested in Bloodstock until you saw those kind of bands going, so it's kind of like I am conflicted about it because for me personally I want to see all the heavier bands, but it's a case of it depends what you're into really. If you're into less heavy stuff, it's good to see those bands, but also what you're saying there about people just going just because it's a gig, like it's I think if you're entering a competition, you should be there to win.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be just like, oh, I'm just here to, you know, oh, there's a lot of people go to that gig, so I should go to that gig because then I'll get fans. Or, you know, you're there to win the competition. You know?
No one enters the Olympics because they fancy a wee jog.
Exactly. But I mean, at the same time, you can understand that, you know. And also, I mean, you can understand the promoters. They bring the rock bands in and stuff because they know they have a following. You know, so they'll get a bigger turnout, you know, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's a difficult one.
What do you reckon? Rock bands and metal to the masses? Fair game or?
Yeah, it's like kind of like apples and oranges. I mean, they are like so different, and it's cool to see so much variation. But I think you were touching on it as well, like sort of bringing new faces into the crowd. So like, you're not going to get rock fans generally going to a metal show. So it's like a different section of the community you're reaching out to. So like those wee bands are getting to play to new people that they might not have, and potentially new fans.
And the thing is, I mean, if you start comparing festivals, if you think about Download, I think about Download as a metal and rock plus other festivals, because they book some wacky things like Chasing Status and stuff like that. I've always thought of Bloodstock as a metal festival. It's a metal festival for metalheads.
That's it.
But that being said, they do book rock bands.
Yeah.
I mean, is it Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, if I got the right name of the band?
Yeah.
They're a rock band.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would dispute that.
Last year, Courtesans wouldn't be considered metal, and they were, for me, one of the best bands of the weekend. Like, they were amazing. You know, it's, I think as long as there's some kind of heavy darkness sort of going on, it's, you know, you can probably get away with it. There's some bands that have entered this year to the competition that, you know, really, if they did get onto the stage, would be slaughtered.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it's
one of the ways I think about it is when I think we've all been to Bloodstock. Or?
yeah.
No, I
Not
haven't.
yet. No.
This year's my first year.
You're going this year for the first.
I love it.
Whenever I go there, I mean, we would spend a lot of time at the New Blood stage where all these Metal to the Masses winners go, and you would go there and you would know you'd know where they're from. You know, this is Glasgow's winner, this is Leicester's winner, this is Liverpool's winner, sort of thing. And I would have the perception of, okay, there's Glasgow's best. There's Glasgow's best metal band.
Yeah.
There's Leicester's best metal band. And I would make a connection between the quality of band and my perception of that city. Like if it was a really shit band and they came from Liverpool, I'd think, well, Liverpool's a bit wank, isn't it? And for that reason, I wouldn't want us, because we're part of it because we vote. I wouldn't want us to send a band to Metal to the Masses for people to go, okay, here we go, here's Belfast's finest. And for everyone to go, nah, I'm not having that, I'm going to go and watch something on the Sophie stage or the main stage or whatever, you know. So to me, that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons it gets under my skin. That's one of the reasons that I would rather we didn't have so many rock bands playing in there.
Because I mean,
now that being said as well, I have a lot of faith in the process because I have been there and I've watched the bands at Bloodstock, and I know that shitty bands don't get through. Shitty bands don't win. You know, the best of the best do get through, and I believe in the process, even though a lot of people would argue about the popularity contests and the judges being biased and blah blah blah. I believe that the way it works with the balanced voting and then Simon Hall picking at the end, I believe the process works, and I don't think we'll ever send a crap band.
No, definitely
that's
not.
the thing. I mean,
And that might have been perceived as me saying that rock bands are all crap. That's not what I'm trying to say either. But I just think if we sent a rock band from Belfast, like a middle of the road rock band, instead of the likes of, I mean, we've sent the Crawling, Shrouded, Overoath. If we then went and sent, I don't want to mention it, bands, if we then went and sent, you know, Jimmy and the Doodads, it wouldn't be good.
No, definitely not.
but that's the thing.
Oh, what did I hear that?
I wanted to raise this point was we have some amazing extreme metal bands. We really do. But on the other side of that, there's only a couple of them. And they can't enter every year, you know. And also, if you only had them entering, sure, they may represent our country in the best way, you know, like that is our best of the best metal. But if you did only have those entering, you'd only have maybe like 10 bands.
That's true.
Cut
That's it,
yeah.
2 heats, you know. So
And
that you do have to sort of fill out the heats in a way, you know. Not saying that the rock bands are filler bands. I'm not saying that at all. But
there are.
but there are filler bands, you know. So it's.
The other thing is, and this is undeniable, the pool of quality bands gets smaller every year because you've
Somebody
got
goes through.
Overoath go through and they win. So next year you've no Overoath.
Yeah, they
Then
can.
the Crawling go through. Next year you've no the Crawling. Shrouded go through, and then next year they can't enter. And then there's other bands like Zlatnera and Rabbit Bitch, and they would go and play on off the bat of their own management or whatnot. So that brings the pool down even smaller. So you got to bring in certain bands to fill up those spaces.
That's it.
You know, that's what it is.
I think as well there's actually, I noticed there's been a couple of bands that I've found at Bloodstock that I've become big fans of that weren't overly heavy, but like I said, we don't seem to have anything like. There's a band, Woden, I think I saw in 2016.
You told me to go see them.
Really soulful and stuff, but just
Yeah.
heavy bluesy groove
Yeah.
thing. I thought they were amazing. Voodoo Blood played last year as well.
See, to be honest,
Yeah.
see that year, I wouldn't take anything I said with
Oh well,
any
no,
sort of
I was
integrity
camping.
whatsoever.
I was camping beside you, so I knew what horrible state you were in.
That's what I've got to look
Wasn't
forward
pretty,
to.
wasn't
Oh
pretty.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I hope I remember. Like at least some of it. Based off what you've told me about it.
well, my favourite thing from last year was Andy Campbell professing his love for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was a major breakthrough moment. And then halfway through that, he wandered off. So, and then obviously proceeded to not remember any of it.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
So.
Go to Bloodstock.
Yep, you get big Andy hugs. So.
And I don't know if we should mention Kim and a Kip.
Kim and a Kip.
Kim and a Kip. No, that's good. That's good to come out.
Anyway, we digress.
So I think in a nutshell, that's how we feel about rock bands playing in metal to the masses. But as emphasised at the start, it's not our call. It's not our decision to make, and those bands are more than entitled to enter. And
Suppose James can only put on the bands that enter as well.
Yeah,
And if,
exactly.
if they're the ones that
Exactly.
have entered, then he has to,
yeah.
he has to work with what he's given.
So up next, we've got Heat 3 of Metal to the Masses. That's on Friday the 16th of February in Voodoo, Belfast. And if you're watching this, then you should be down at that gig. The 4 bands competing on that night are Acid Age, Wardomized, Indominus, and Thunderwolf. And we're going to talk about those 4 bands now. We'll start off with Acid Age, and we'll start with you, Lauren. What do you reckon the Acid Age?
Of course, they're my area of expertise. I'm quite a fan myself. I'm really looking forward to seeing them, I have to say. I've heard some of the new stuff myself because they've now got a second guitarist, Maddie, and a violinist as well, Anna, which some people sort of raise an eyebrow to that, like, oh, a violinist in thrash. But I have to say, it's really, really good. That's my own personal opinion. So I'm looking forward to everyone else seeing it, and yeah, I think it's going to be awesome.
Liam, have you listened to much Acid Age?
I listened to the album last night.
Just ignore the laugh.
I'm not a fan of them, I have to say. There were a few moments that, sort of got me going, but to me it's just a bit sort of basic thrash.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't seem to be much room for kind of progression or expanding ideas and stuff, and I've never been a fan of just that head down kind of party thrash thing. But like I said, I've only seen them a couple of times, and I think the last time I saw them in Voodoo, it was like, I think were they a 3-piece at one point maybe?
They were.
Yeah, and it was like all 3 members were playing different songs. It was disastrous. Now, the fact that, as you said, they've now got a second guitarist, there's a violinist, that actually has me curious, because that would suggest that I'm possibly wrong about the no room for expansion thing. So I'll be interested to see where they go with it.
My background with Acid Age was like yourself. The last time I seen them, it was 3 guys. It was Jude, Jake, and do you know who the drummer was back then? It wasn't Aaron, but it was a previous drummer.
Might have been.
And what you said about, like, you would stand and watch them on stage, and it's like, that guy can play guitar for like fuck. That guy can play bass like fuck, and that drummer can drum like fuck. But it just didn't seem cohesive to me. It seemed like three people doing their own thing, and I always found that a bit jarring. I was never really on board with that. But I was told, and I think we covered this in the previous podcast, they're now up to 6 members, as you say, with I'm not allowed, you won't let me call them a fiddler.
She wouldn't mind that. She wouldn't mind you calling her a fiddler.
Dangerous territory.
But they've upped their numbers. They've doubled. They've twice as many people as they used to. They're up to 6. They have an album, and you're gonna have to remind me the name of the album. The one with the combine.
Like a runaway combine harvester in a field of crippled rabbits.
That is the one. Yes.
Otherwise known as just combine.
And the first time, about a week or so ago, I stuck that on. I listened to it through, and I just went, "This is so out there that I can't wrap my head around it. It is just bizarre." It felt to me like they had intentionally tried to write an album that would go over my head, right? And I listened to it, and then I listened to it a second time through. And one of the songs that stuck out with me is it Hell is in the Sea?
Hell is in the South Sea.
Hell is in the South Sea. That was one of the songs that really stuck out with me. And it's got like a 2-minute bluesy thing.
Oh, I hated that. I hated it.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is actually going on here? But I'm
like
thinking,
status quo.
I can't help but think that that's what they're aiming for. They want people to listen to it, and for people like me to go, what the fuck is that? Before we recorded the podcast, we put the album on and listened to it, and that was my 3rd time round. And at that stage, it started to grow on me, and it was like, I'm kind of starting to like some of these songs now. And
there was one song, I can't remember what it was, because I listened to it on YouTube, and it was just one thing you did into the song titles. And I can't remember, there was one song sort of towards the end that had a really sort of cool instrumental bit that I thought, right, yeah, I could possibly get into that, but yeah, for the rest of it just didn't.
I'm still on the fence because mentally I am lost. I've listened to it, and I can't grasp it. It just goes in so many directions, so much, and it's so mad and crazy, and I get the impression that's what they're aiming for.
I think it's fucking class.
I think I need to see it live. to make a proper decision.
You haven't seen them live with the combine lineup.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've seen them a lot of times. I think I'm a big fan. But
before we recorded, you put on a video of them playing live in Alexander's Bar in Lisburn.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, of all the footage anyone's ever showed me of a band playing live, people were having a good time.
It was carnage.
No
I was in amongst it. It was one of the most intense things I've seen in Alexander's. Even in just the local scene, it's one of the most intense gigs I've been to. So Sorry. Even if you're not really into thrash, let alone hyper thrash, just witnessing that level of intensity live is, I've heard it from other people who aren't really into it. They just go, fuck, that's intense. There's no other word for it really.
By all accounts, it seems like a completely different band than what I've seen before. So, as I say, on the fence, and we'll be happy to be impressed by them if they do. Sean, have you listened to it much?
I've heard them when they were a 3-piece, as you guys were saying. So to hear them with a violin, that's going to be interesting. So I'm quite excited to see it. So I'll pop down, catch them live, then decide.
So another band playing that night are Wardamized. Wardamized are a grindcore band from Belfast. They're made up of members from many other local bands. Again, Lauren, you've probably been most familiar with Wardamized.
Yeah, I've seen Wardamized a good few times, and I know the guys personally. For a while, I wasn't actually too into Wardamized. I was into Death Bus, Acid Age, all those bands and that sort of scene. Wardamized didn't really, hit me as much. But with their latest release, and I actually reviewed it as well, Forced to Eat from the Apple Tree, I like the direction they're going in. I think it's more refined. They kind of have figured out their sound a bit more. It's a bit more grungy as well. So it's sort of like grindcore in a way, which is weird.
That's an interesting combination.
It is, and that might not really do much for many people, but for me, I could relate to it more, and it sounds tight live. They've got a new drummer and a new bassist as well, and I think the lineup that they've got now really works well. Like they really have it sussed out. So I'm excited to see them play this.
Liam?
Grindcore's not my thing at all. I listened to that the Apple Tree release there last night. Yeah, it just wasn't. There was one song, something Blue Red. There's
Blue, I think
Oh,
it's- I think
that's the one with Jam.
Blue
Yeah,
Red, Blue Red
yeah.
White
and
Flowers.
that to me had elements of therapy, which is always gonna that's gonna hook me. And
Eddie'll be happy to hear that.
I listened to that and thought, wow, there's something very there's something cool about that tune.
It's
But
unique.
then it reverted into the sort of straight ahead grindcore sort of stuff,
Mm.
and yeah, that's where they lost me. It's not my bag at all.
Fair enough.
Sean, listen much.
Same again, like it's a band I wouldn't be familiar with, to be honest. Like, but like again, I was listening today, like that release, but yeah, I appreciated the drummer and stuff like that. Like, he was pretty awesome. But looking forward to seeing him live. Like,
Is it John that comes
Sorry, I
for
can say.
Farmhouse?
No, it's Dean
Dean.
Montgomery now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drummers and that sort of stuff always fascinate me as well,
Yeah.
because it's just
just pure stamina.
it's like to be playing for like 30-45 minutes of just solid blast beating
Yeah.
chaos. Yeah, you've got to be in some mental shape for that. Like,
It's crazy.
Yeah, they've definitely come a long way. I mean, for me, I thought Watermise, no two releases sound the same, but I really think that this is the best they've been yet. So I think it's the best time for them to enter a competition like this,
Yeah. I've only listened to bits and pieces of Watermised, and it's the sort of stuff that I would enjoy live,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't necessarily pick up and listen to on record.
Yeah.
Grindcore to me as a genre is just completely silly. Like, to me, it is, of all the metal genres, it is the silliest by far. And I think, for me personally, bands that kind of understand that and then just go with that are my favourite kind of grindcore bands. Like, the only two bands I would really listen to are Spasm and Gutlax, and it is the stupidest music on the planet. And when I listen to grindcore, that's what I want, because it's stupid music, so it should be stupid themes and stuff. So Watermised, for me, for the style of music they're doing, are just a wee bit too serious. I'd like them to see them go a wee bit wackier, go mad, like,
Yeah.
It's like, what do you call the what do you call, like, the thing, the Borat wears, and it's like,
or the Mankini.
Yeah.
Mankini,
Yeah.
okay.
right. Like, to me, I think mankinis are just the least funny thing on the fucking planet. Like,
Yeah.
I hate that.
Right.
But in a grindcore band, it just fits. That's where they belong, and to me, that's what
They're like
grindcore
the
band
No,
is.
Mankinis of metal.
Yes,
No,
this grindcore is the mankini of metal.
Now I have
think
an
that's what I'm
image.
trying to say.
I have a mental image of Watermised and Mankinis. Thank you.
That's
for
what
that.
they need to do. That's what I want.
I really don't think it is.
Watermised war mankinis. Straight from me. That's what I
Don't
want.
don't,
think,
don't listen.
I'm
don't
going to
do
pay a
that.
tenner for this gig instead of the $5. Like.
Yeah, we will all pay double the price. It is all worth
Oh, no, you
it.
can have a private party for Wayne with you all dressed in Mankinis.
And then puke on each other, and I'm not going any further than that.
Yeah,
I think you know what
that'll
I'm
be a
getting at.
separate podcast that
This sounds like a good
Yeah.
band.
Okay.
you might have to subscribe to.
I think we went a wee bit off topic there, so we'll move on a bit.
Anyway,
Next,
so that's Watermised.
that's Watermised. Watermised are the band that don't wear mankinis, but Wayne wishes they would.
Yeah.
How did we get there? I don't know. Whatever. Right.
You're
Moving on. The next band that we're talking about that are playing that night are a band called Indominus. They are, I would consider them death metal.
Yeah.
Is that fair? They're a death metal band. I don't know how relevant people would consider this. They used to be a band called For Christ's Sake. I think two of the members from Christ's Sake have started up Indominus, and they're very well known as being a Christian band, a Christian death metal band. I'll take the lead on this one. I have listened to their stuff, and without any doubt, the material that they have put out is the most professional sounding material of the four bands we're talking about tonight. It sounds absolutely bang on. It's great metal music. It sounds very, very well produced. Everything is on point. The guitars, the bass, there's loads of blast beats and stuff, so if you're into that, that's in there. the vocals, I think, are great. They sound like, sometimes you put on a local band and they sound like a local band, and Dominus don't. And Dominus sound like a band that have been doing this for a long time and have put money into a decent recording and have put out a very, very good 5-track EP. That being said, some people have a chip on their shoulder about religion being in there with their music. I don't know how much that will have an impact on how they're received. Personally, it's not something I want in there, but I don't think I really want to get into that right now.
I personally,
but, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I don't even think the lyrical content is something you should judge them on. I mean, you know, like bands like Draconis, you know, they're it's similar lyrical content but from a different perspective, you know, so why not hear it from a different perspective, you know what I mean? I mean, you put it on earlier before we started recording this, and I didn't even think they were from here. Like I thought they were just some professional band, and honestly I couldn't really make out the lyrics, if I'm honest.
True,
so
true,
you know what
yeah.
I mean, I couldn't make out the lyrics. You know, they're not preaching to me, you know what I mean, it's just lyrics, you know what I mean. The riffs are good, the drums, everything was awesome. So if they're
well, the thing that plays on my mind is, if you can't make out the lyrics, how do you know? How do you know they're not preaching to you?
true. But I mean,
You know?
As long as they don't stand up on stage and start preaching, then
I mean, I sincerely doubt they come up on stage and go, right, hello, we're Indominus, we're a Christian metal band, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, I don't think they would. The other thing is, I would say there is a difference between a Christian metal band and a metal band that contains Christians.
yeah,
You know,
that's very true.
but some bands do. Some Christian metal bands identify as Christian metal bands, and they do go out there writing metal and putting it out there to spread the gospels, or however they see it. And if that was the case, then personally I'd have to take a step back from that, because it's just not something I'm interested in.
yeah, well, like I said, it's
But again, there's part of me that doesn't. I know I've talked about that a lot. There's part of me that doesn't want to talk about that. That shouldn't be the focus.
Exactly.
We should be judging the band on their music.
It's
you
a
know?
similar principle to, you know, like the whole female fronted metal band thing. You know, like there's bands who say, you know, oh, we're a female fronted band, we've got women in our band. But then, like we were saying earlier, the likes of Corvid, you know, Alex is in the band, she's a fantastic guitarist, but they're not saying, oh, look at us, we've got a girl in our band, you know. It's the same if they're, you know, their album art, you know, Dominus, their album art doesn't have Christian things, you know, shouldn't even.
I quite like the album.
Yeah, the album art's awesome. I would look at that and I wouldn't say, oh, well, look at them, they're trying to, you know, they're, you know what I mean.
It's with that kind of music. There's two bands I really like, Breaking Benjamin and Flyleaf, and they would both be Christian rock bands. With Breaking Benjamin, doesn't really come across overly so in the lyrics, but with Flyleaf it really does. And that can get a wee bit, you know, that grinds on you if you're obviously not that way inclined. But with Indominus, yeah, you can't make out what they're saying to begin with. So, you know,
in the best way possible.
oh yeah, that's not a slight at all. Like you know,
the vocals are good.
yeah. But I listened to it last night as well, and yeah, I was blown away. They're really, really good. There's one song, I can't remember the full name, Fierce something or other, I think, and it had a very hardcore sort of tinge to it. Like it was, so yeah, I was very impressed. Now they're in the grand scheme of sort of the Northern Irish black metal sort of thing. I think they maybe have a wee bit of a way to go to sort of, you know, force their way through, but I don't see it being too long and that happening.
Sean, have you listened to Indominus?
I haven't indeed yet. I'm so excited to see them live. Like, it just, again, like drummer all the time. Like, if that's a drummer's class, I'm right there with him. Like,
And the drummer is fucking class blast beats all the fucking
Just
It's
like,
not
I
just
don't know.
blast beats, he's got a lot of taste in other films
There's
he's doing and stuff.
grooves to
absolutely,
it, and like, like I was really like just thinking like his legs are probably just like tree trunks, just like, like just pure muscle, just crazy stuff. But like no, the vocals as well, like they sound very polished and like very international. Like I could see them just at a festival, like.
But
so
you
hopefully
you wouldn't think they're a local band.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listening to the EP, no, you definitely,
Absolutely,
you definitely wouldn't.
But,
So
I mean,
maybe I think it is fair to say that I'm hanging on to that Christian aspect more
Yeah,
than
I mean, but that's
more than is right.
You know, some people might watch this and go, "Oh, well, all they're talking about is the fact that they're Christians."
Yeah.
But I mean, whenever you're coming from our scene, you know what I mean? You know, like you get those kind of people where we're so used to hearing, you know, Slayer and stuff. You know, it's all Satan sort of stuff. So it is different. So obviously, it's going to come up. You know, if someone's coming at it from a different point of view, it is going to come up. It's not discriminatory or anything, you know. It's nothing like that. It's just like, okay, this is different, you know.
Well, and like I said, as long as it's not, you know, and I don't, you know, honestly don't see them getting up there and, you know, preaching at us, then it doesn't, it really doesn't make a difference, you know. It's how they perform on the night, and based on that EP, I reckon they're going to shred.
I do think they'll play a hell of a set.
Yeah,
I haven't
they're
seen
the
them
first.
before.
They're the first black metal band so far into it, and whereas other years there's been quite a few. So, you know, I think that might actually stand them in good stead.
Potential winners?
No, I don't think so. I don't think winners, but I could see them getting to the final.
The last band on the bill then of Heat 3 is a band called Thunderwolf. Thunderwolf to me are sort of a band that falls somewhere between that sort of Iron Maiden dual guitar harmonies and like 80s style thrash music. Liam, what do you reckon, Thunderwolf?
Oh, not good.
Not impressed?
I listened to the EP last night, and first thing you notice from that is how terribly produced it is.
Yeah.
It is, you know, it sounds like it was recorded in somebody's garage through a closed door. You know, it's really low sounding, it's tinny, it's it's not good. And in this day and age, there's no excuse for that. Like, you know, the technology's there. You can record something in your own bedroom that is radio ready.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true. Yeah.
As regards to the actual music, there's a couple of bands about sort of locally, in the country, Rabbit Bitch of the North and Stereo Nasty. I think they're they're in that sort of bracket, but they're nowhere near that kind of level. There was one song, the last song in the 3-song EP, I think it's called A Blessing in Disguise, and there's a great instrumental bit, and what makes it so great is that there's no singing on it. Their singer is, I just gotta say it, I don't think he's good at all. You know, he's, especially not for that style of music, it's I don't know, it sounds very forced. He doesn't seem to have a great range for what they're doing.
It sounded like he was drinking before.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Like it does sound
Can't
like
blame him.
a bar. It's like a bar vocal. Like.
Yeah.
I sort of want to interject a bit on what you're saying there. I mean, I know you're saying obviously the production and everything, and given when it was released, I think it was 2016, maybe last year,
right, it was
something. You
2016.
know, you're saying there's no excuse for it. I mean, if you listen to Acid Age, for example, you know, who are also playing on this Heat, you know, if you're listening to their first release, you know, it's
When was that?
2014.
Yeah,
2013, 14. It's still pretty recent.
Yeah.
You know, the production isn't great. You know, the vocalists, they still had Jude. You know, they've developed since then. Thunderwolf, you know, they're fairly new to the scene. They are still beginners, you know, compared to the other bands. You know, I mean, Wardomized, Acid Age and Indominus have been around for quite some time compared to them. You know what I mean?
For
So
my money, that doesn't really affect the quality of reproduction, because, you know, the technology's there. The quality of production is there no matter how long you've been a band. You know,
My counter argument to that would be that the technology's there to create great podcasts. But the quality here and the video quality may not be top notch. So
well, the thing is, then that comes
it's a learning process.
That comes down to how much money they're willing to put into it. Which, if you're not willing to actually put that money and time and effort in to produce a great sounding EP or whatever, that doesn't bode well.
It's a fair point. It is a fair point.
know,
I mean, you've got to
Yeah.
think about perceptions. I mean, one of the things I thought about Thunderwolf was whenever it comes to these metal to the masses, we obviously have to go and listen to all these bands before we can come in here and spout a load of nonsense about them. So you go on to probably first point of contact is going to be the Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I went on to Thunderwolf's
Yeah.
Facebook page, and you scroll down, and there's an awful lot of mobile phone clips.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of mobile phone clips, and it's just not. You're not putting out that professionalism.
Yeah.
Plus,
You know,
getting onto their
if-
band
Yeah.
camp, you have to do it via the link on the Facebook page. I went onto the actual app, typed in the name, which doesn't help because there's like a million Thunderwolf, bands out there.
It's a fair point.
But then, if you go onto their page straight through the app, nothing comes up, which I found very weird.
Okay.
Maybe I was doing it wrong, but once I clicked on the link on the Facebook page, then it comes up. But that's you put that out there. That is your impression to people.
Yeah.
It is.
It
It is.
and that is how you hook people in.
That I think.
And that's actually what you were saying about the Facebook page. They have got mobile clips, but they've also got a lot of sort of promo material. They're kind of doing this sort of new retro wave kind of aesthetic. They've got the promo video for the Heat as well. Actually, they've got this really polished, professional looking artwork and everything. I mean, I know I was sort of defending them earlier, saying they're sort of new and you should sort of give them a chance production wise and everything, because obviously other bands are kind of have got shit production for their first stuff. But if they're putting out this sort of really polished, professional looking artwork and promo material, their actual recordings should reflect that. And I don't think they do. But I haven't seen them live.
Yes, that's the thing.
That's the thing. Have any of you seen them live?
No,
yet?
no.
So I mean, they could play an absolute belter of a set.
I mean,
that's it.
But
within this, we will be the first to admit we're wrong.
We have done
because
we usually
we
are.
talked about straight up first podcast. We talked about Disconnect, and everyone went, "Aye, they're all right." But those other three bands are great, and then we all stood there watching Disconnect with their jaws on the floor.
And they were my number one vote on
Yeah,
it.
so
you never know.
we have no problem with being wrong because we often are.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately we can talk about the production and their album covers and their motives and everything, but it is all down to their performance on the night.
Yeah.
That is 100%
So
true.
it could be absolutely amazing and prove us all wrong. So
Well, that's it. And this sort of Heat as well, I think, is the one we've looked at with lower expectations than the first two, which is maybe it's not fair on this Heat because the first two Heats were obviously so well stacked. So I think this could well be the Heat that has the potential for the most whoa, we didn't expect that.
It is difficult. I mean, for me personally, I've seen Acid Age and Mortimer so many times, and I'm a fan of both. But I am interested to see Indominus and Thunderwolf.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either of them before, so I could be surprised.
Yeah, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it is.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so those are the four bands that are playing in Heat 4. We'll go from my left to right.
Yeah.
What are your two predictions? Who do you think will go through, and then who do you want to go through?
So who I think are going to go through 100% Indominus, just based on their EP recording and stuff like that, but they could be a wee bit rough live, like I've not seen them live. So like you say, there's always a wee surprise and stuff, like spanner in the works kind of material, but so them definitely, and Word of Mice, I think.
You reckon?
So I think they're probably your strongest contenders.
Dominus and Mortimized. Okay. Liam?
For me, who I want to go through and who I think will go through, probably the same, based on obviously just what I've heard online or whatever. Indominus to win it, and then probably going to be Acid Age, I think.
Lauren?
So who I want to go through, I want Acid Age to win it, obviously. And Wordamized, simply because it would be funny to see Eddie compete against himself again.
Yeah, we didn't mention that.
Actually we haven't mentioned that, but it'd be funny to see Acid Age and Wordamized, for the Eddie part of it. But I think Indominus and Acid Age will go through. That's my prediction. Although I would love to be pleasantly surprised by Thunderwolf. I would love to see them blow me away, but you never know.
Okay. My prediction would be, I think Acid Age and Wordamized will go through, because I think those guys will bring a crowd down, quite frankly.
So yeah, that's
I think there's
That's a good point.
See,
Yeah.
if the Wordamized can bring a crowd, that'll work for them, because I think that style of music, if you don't have your guys there, that's gonna scare off a lot of kind of people that, you know, because grindcore is, you have to be, you're either into it or you're not.
It's quite niche.
Yeah, there's no sort of fence sitting going, oh, I like some bands, I don't, you know, it's
You do.
Yeah, they're like
you've
it
got
or you
it,
don't.
yeah. And if they don't bring a crowd, then I think they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's it is. I'm word of mouth. I do think Indominus will put on a hell of a good show.
Yeah.
I really do.
I'm looking forward to it.
But I think they'll be the tightest band on the night. I think they'll be the most professional band on the night. I just think there'll be a real strong crowd with Acid Age and Word of Mouth. And those guys they're all friends, like, so they're going to support each other and whatnot. Yeah, that's what I reckon.
And one thing I do need to say, we say it every time, but every time some band comes out, and remember, you're in a competition. Yeah. You know, you've got to put on a show. You know, no standing with your back to the crowd or whatever. Or, you know, if something goes wrong, don't shit the togs and everybody retreat. You know, if somebody has to tune up the singer or whatever, needs to talk to the crowd, interact. You know, give us something.
You're not just playing a gig.
Yeah.
You're competing.
Yeah.
You're literally, you need to.
You're being judged on your professionalism. You know, the whole thing is how you're going to go down on it, like on that stage at Bloodstock. They're going to want to get you on and out. So you're setting up and tearing down time. Be as quick as you can be.
That's something we didn't mention earlier, which maybe we should have, is people running over their set times.
Again, it happened again. And it was Corvid ran over, and then so long until or so much for the sun also took too long to set up as well, so they were over their time. Oracle started late because of everyone else, came in under their time. You know, they just, you know, that is how you do it. Get and make sure everything's ready to go. If you know all your drum stuff's ready to go, you're tuned up. You know, all your pedals are linked in and ready. All you have to do is, you know, put the guitar in. Don't be faffing about, because I know for a fact, having spoken to the judges, they are marking that down. So
I mean, whenever your sights are set for Voodoo and for Warzone, and that is your goal, fair enough. You know, you're just there for a bit of crack. You're there to take your time and have a bit of fun with it. But if your sights are really set for those bigger stages for Bloodstock, you know, you want to make sure that those things that people would mainly, you know, sort of forget about, like, you know, how long it takes to set up, you know, all those kind of wee nitpicky things. You do need to pay attention to those.
There's a curfew, you know, you know, the votes have to get in and get counted. Plus, it's also respect to the bands on after you. If you're coming on late and running over your time, you're screwing those other guys up.
Exactly.
And, you know, that's not cool.
It's not professional.
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone who's watched the third episode of the Wrong Kind of Music podcast. If you want to come on here, give us a shout and come on here and talk. Where there's room for more people. And it's
not right now. There's not.
But I think everyone that's comes on has enjoyed themselves, and everyone who's actually made it here has asked to come back on again. So it's good crack. There's free beer. So
thank you to Heaney.
Yes, thank you to
Heaney
Farmhouse Brewery for the free beers. Do check these beers out, because they are genuinely
They
nice.
actually are.
We're not just saying that.
I'll just say
it's free.
that Chinook Mosaic is a very summery beer. I don't normally like the sort of the craft beer stuff, but I could guzzle that all night long.
The 8% gingerbread stout.
On case in point. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it caused a few difficulties. I'm just gonna say that straight up. But thank you very much for watching. If you can like and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated, and hopefully we'll see you all down there on the 16th of February for Heat 3. Thank you very much, and don't forget, keep listening to the Wrong Kind of Music.